I'd like to invite each of you right now to go on a quick journey with me. Now, I'm sure you're asking, what's this journey about? It's going to be pretty much teacher-centered, but for those of you who aren't teachers, you're invited as well. And where we're going to be going, we're going to be trying to ask the question and answer the question, as a teacher, what is the ultimate question? Well, I like to think of myself as a lifelong learner. Anytime I find myself around successful people, I always ask them, what's the best advice you've ever been given? Well, that's not the question we're searching for, so if that's what you're thinking, I like that. But it's not the ultimate question we're looking for. Invariably, the responses I get will be hard work. Do something you enjoy doing. You'll never work a day in your life. Things like that. Motivational type stuff. But whenever they turn around and they ask me, what's the best advice you've ever been given in your life? I don't have to think twice. See, there's a gentleman I met years ago, Coach Don Shelton. Coach Shelton was an All-American running back at the University of Louisville in the 1940s. And after Coach Shelton got finished playing football, he didn't want to play in the NFL because back then the NFL was a lot more dangerous than it is now, and he didn't make any money. So he pursued his dream of being a teacher and a coach. He moved down to Western Kentucky. He coached at Morgan Field. He coached at Henderson High School. Had two really good teams there, won a state championship, and ultimately he became the head football coach at Murray State. He was there for several years. He finally got out of college coaching. He moved back to Louisville, coached for a while here, and he retired in the mid-1990s, moved to Northern Kentucky, and he got a part-time job with the Covington Independent School District, working in the transportation department. Well, fast forward to August of 1997, I got hired by the Covington Independent School District to teach social studies and coach basketball. Well, as I settled into my routine, each day I would do the same thing. Do my stuff in the classroom, teach my classes, then the last period of the day was my planning period. So I would spend a little time there getting ready for tomorrow. And then I would go by my athletic director's office, the guy who hired me. His name was Ron Madrick. He played football at Murray State University for Coach Shelton. And every day I would just sit and listen to Coach Madrick. He became a mentor of mine. But my favorite times were those days when I went into that office and I sat down and Coach Shelton was there with Coach Madrick, and we had two guys with over 40 years of experience in education, and I would just listen to their stories. Stories about relationships with students, stories about relationships with parents, with athletes, with administrators, with other teachers. With every story they told, there was a life lesson to be learned. One day I was in there and Coach Shelton looked at me, and he was getting up near 80 at the time, and he looked at me and he folded his arms. He said, "Coach, how's your basketball team going to be this year?" So I started. I'm like, "Well, Coach, we got a couple players, they can really play, but we want to play fast, and Eric, he gets up and down the floor, but he can't make good decisions on the move. So he has to slow down. Then we got Ronnie, he can get up and down the floor, he can really do some good things, but physically, he has to slow down because he can't make plays going full speed. And then Josh, he can get to the basket, but I just can't get him to go to the basket." So I'm going on about all the works that we have on our team. Finally, Coach Shelton looks at me in his grandfatherly voice and he says, "Coach, if they could do all that, they wouldn't need you." You talk about hitting a 32-year-old knowing everything right between the eyes. It really hit me. So that's the best advice I've ever gotten, and I use it every single day. And I think about the first day of school every year. I'll give an assignment. It's usually a writing assignment, and the students will write it, and as I go around and I'm looking at it, and I'm reading what they're writing, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, some of these kids, they're not reading on grade level. Some of them can't put a paragraph together. Some of them can't do this. Some of them can't do that. And I'm getting stressed out. And then all of a sudden, in the back of my mind, guess what I hear? "Coach, if they could do all that, they wouldn't need you." And that's one thing we always have to keep in mind as teachers. So as we continue our journey, you don't have to always get advice from sage old veterans, so to speak. Because now, some of the best advice I get comes from my students. And here's how it works. Probably the last day or two of school, and I see a couple of you in here I've had before, what we'll do is I say, here's your assignment today. There's one main thing I want you to keep in mind in today's assignment. You have to be honest. Now, if you've got a pretty good relationship with your students, they're going to be honest with you because they trust you. And if they know they can trust you, they know that it's nothing that's going to be punitive, they will be honest with you. So the assignment goes like this. Everybody in row one, you get in a circle, get together. One person is the scribe. You're going to write down everything. Row two, get in a circle. You're going to pick out a scribe. They're going to write everything. Row three, row four, row five, and so on. So here's the assignment. You've got the next 15 or 20 minutes to critique this class. You give me your best advice. What do you like about the class? What do you not like about the class? Here's the one caveat. You can say all you want to about me. You might say, I do not like you as a teacher, but you have to tell me why you don't like me as a teacher. You may not like this class, but you have to tell me why you don't like this class. And you wouldn't believe it. Some of the stuff I get, I mean, they're brutally honest when they know someone else is writing it and I can't tell whose handwriting it is. Because by the end of the year, we know what everybody's handwriting looks like. That's why I have a scribe, so they'll be honest. But I get it and I read it and I'm like, I do that? And then I read another one. We do that too much? But like I said, advice doesn't have to come from grandma or grandpa. It can come from students. Because as teachers, we get evaluated twice, sometimes 3 times a year by our administrators. That's the nature of the beast. Who better to give you advice and evaluate you than the students you see every single day? Most of them have been in school for 12 years. They know what a good teacher looks like after 12 years of seeing them every single day. That's why I love it when I get their feedback. So as we continue on in our journey, we talk about advice from students. We talk about advice from sage old veterans. We come to the point where we have to ask the ultimate question. But before we go there, have any of you ever played the lottery? I see a few of you shaking your heads. Is there any rhyme or reason to the numbers that they draw? Of course not. Do you have any control over the numbers that they draw? You have no idea what the Powerball is going to be this week. You have no idea what the Pick Six is going to be next week. That's why they call it a lottery. You have no say-so in the matter whatsoever. Sure, you can pick your numbers, but it's a lottery. It's kind of what they call random, right? I heard that word how many times tonight? But anyway, we talk about winning the lottery. So the ultimate question that we need to ask as teachers, it has to do with the lottery. Every day I leave this building and I walk out that door and I go to my truck and I go home, I ask myself the same question every day. Did my students win the teacher lottery? You see, because as students, you don't have much choice in who your teachers are. It's kind of like the lottery. You don't know what the numbers are going to be. You don't know who your teacher's going to be. It's just who you get. As you get older and you become an upperclassman, you might be able to pick an elective course, but you have no control over who that teacher is. I can tell you when I was a freshman in high school, I knew who my freshman English teacher would be because it's the same one my older sister had. I knew who my sophomore English teacher was going to be because guess what? Same one my older sister had. Same for math, same for science, same for social studies. So it's pretty much a crapshoot. So every day, we as teachers, we try to do the best we can. And the one thing I always try to make sure I ask myself every day is, did my students win the teacher lottery today? Now, there are some days I leave here, I'm on cloud 9 and they won the mega millions. But then there's some days where I walk out of here and I think, man, they didn't even get the pick 3 today. But we keep coming back each and every day because we know that if you all couldn't do it, if you could do everything, you wouldn't need us. It's been so much fun doing this and listening to you all. And before I leave, the one last thing I'd like to leave you with, the gentleman I talked about, Don Shelton, he's since passed. But his first job in 1950, in the 1950-51 school year, he was a teacher and a coach right here at Eastern High School. Thanks a lot. Have a great fall break.